Hi, I'm Stephen Garvey with National Citizens Alliance. Today we're going to dig deeper into the Chilcotin Nation. We did about a week ago. We did a pretty comprehensive video on that nation, but we feel we've come across additional information, and we need to dig a bit deeper. We are concerned that some people may be harmed by what's been going on there, and it's tied into a bigger issue that NCA doesn't support. And this is dealing with common law, sovereign citizen, people making up their own laws. And this can lead to considerable harm to anyone who gets caught up in that. But we're going to go through the facts today, and you make up your mind. We have the comments here, but I'm going to get right into. Hey, Kevin White, thank you. But we have some pretty bizarre information to share, and I think we feel it's important. Everyone needs to be aware of this, and that's why we're doing this tonight. It's just going to be me tonight. So the first document I'm going to go in, and this is a real positive one. It's going to double down on the First Nations natives and their rights. Um, and here it is here. So this is from the Chilcotin Nation. This is from their website. I talked to them yesterday. I talked to one of the managers, Helen, and we had a good conversation. And but I wanted to share this here. This is important, and this is something we mentioned last time, that this particular nation never ceded, surrendered their lands, and then they began legal proceedings in 1989 to stop the harvesting of timber and the trapline territory geographically known as Chilcotin Claim Area. It breached the trapline territory. The judgment There was previous judgments by Justice Vickers, um, was proof of Aboriginal title and called to question the legitimacy of the provincial government licensing policies within this territory. 2010, the nation appealed, and then on June 26, 2014, for the first time in Canadian history, the Supreme Court of Canada declared that the Chilcotin Nation, or the Chilcotin Nation, Aboriginal title to a small portion of territory within the area of the Maya Valley. And that actually gave them right over that land. Declared British Columbia breached its duty to consult this nation in its planning and forestry authorizations. So they were basically exploiting their resources, but this was overturned, and it's called the Chilcotin decision. And this decision allows full ownership, benefit, control of the Aboriginal title area by the Chilcotin people. And this was great for these people. And this summarizes it here. All 8 judges agreed with the decision. Uh, uh, and this is approximately 1,900 square kilometers of claim area. And there's a map here. Puppet Trudeau was in on it. The court confirmed the land title, the control of the land. These lands can be managed according to Chilcotin laws and governance. So there's an element of sovereignty here. Aboriginal title also means that the Chilcotin have the right to the economic benefits of the land and its resources, as they should. The only caveat here is that the Chilcotin people can proactively use and manage these lands for traditional activities and modern purposes. The only limit is they cannot be developed in a way that deprives future generations of the control and benefit of the land. This is where it gets complicated. The Chilcotin Nation, the person I talked to, they're still in negotiations with the federal government on this, the BC government. But basically, they are protected from other government jurisdiction, except under exceptional circumstances. The government must any government, the federal government, BC government must first seek the consent of the Chilcotin people before interfering with their Aboriginal title lands. If the government cannot obtain consent, then it cannot interfere with the Aboriginal title. However, the court indicated that the infringements of Aboriginal title will not be lightly justified uh, unless they can justify the infringement. So there is a gateway in there for the government to interfere with this title land, but they must justify the infringement. This means it'll be very difficult to show that it has good reason enough to step in and use the title land. And this ultimately means the BC government was wrong to propose logging in the claim area. The Forestry Act, the BC Forestry Act, does not apply to this title land. And they have Aboriginal rights to remain to the entire claim area. Aboriginal rights to hunt, trap, trade were not at issue before the Supreme Court of Canada. Yeah, the government was denying the real recognition of Aboriginal title in Canada. We can expect First Nations to assert much greater control over their traditional territories, defending our land, culture. Excellent. And here's the title area right here. So this was pretty monumental for these for the Chilcotin people, and it didn't give them full outright sovereignty, but it's they have pretty much sovereignty within the exclusion that the government can come in under exceptional circumstances. But that's still under negotiation, according to the nation, as I mentioned, who I talked to. And I just want to bring up this other article, and then we're going to dive into another issue that's really complicating this really positive outcome. So this document here, I'm going to bring up. This confirms that this is from the BC government. And now they're pandering to them after they were exploiting their resources. They're claiming it's 1,900 square kilometers. The Chilcotin Nation says it's 1,900, so we already have a dispute right there. I can't believe the government. Just look what they were doing, how they were exploiting natives. They were issuing private logging authorizations in their traditional territories without, as far as I know, any proceeds going to the First Nations. This is outrageous. But this is the government response. I talked about the Chilcotin War in 1864. There were 6 Chilcotin chiefs that were hung. It was and they were set up. It was supposed to be a peace conference, and they ended up getting hung. And then there was the issue of the smallpox. The BC government won't admit to that. How there was actually biological warfare going on involving contaminated smallpox blankets and handkerchiefs. They won't admit that, disappointingly. And then they talk about, and this is about the hanging in New Westminster, 1864. 6th chief was later captured and hanged in New Westminster, and then there was 5 right here that were hung. So that and then they issue a formal apology for the execution of these chiefs way back then. And Puppet Trudeau exonerated the chiefs and offered an apology. You know, what the hell is that going to do? You know, this is just pandering. But that's where it's at right now. But this thing is getting really complicated. Another group had formed within the nation. Uh, we had Suzanne on. She was part of the group, and they had formed a Chilcotin National Congress. They had formed what's called the Universal Supreme Court of the Chilcotin. And I believe myself, it's caused a lot of problems for these people. As far as all my research goes, they don't have jurisdiction. It's still pending a decision by the BC court. Uh, the Chilcotin National Government, which is made up of 6 chiefs, they're elected in the regions. They don't recognize this other group, which is made up of some members of the nation and some people external to it. But it turned array. There was this. I'm going to go right into this document. It's unbelievable, but this is what we're warning people about. This common law, this sovereign citizen stuff, it can get you in serious trouble if you think you can just create your own laws. You're kidding yourself. If you violate the existing laws in society, whether provincial, federal, bylaws, municipal, you're going to get in trouble. And this is probably a textbook example, but here's this document. We felt we should talk about it. Where is it here? So this is from the United States Department of Justice. And this woman, Patricia Parsons, 50 years old, from Brighton, Tennessee, was sentenced to 60 months in, so that's 5 years in federal prison for aiding, abetting, and solicitation to commit kidnapping. According to the facts revealed during the plea hearing, September 2017 to February 2017 through May 2000, Parson conspired with Suzanne Holland, the person we had on our program, a self-appointed, quote, self-appointed Chief Justice of this Universal Supreme Court of the Chilcotin Nation in Canada to kidnap a Tipton County judge and a Nebraska sheriff. Unbelievable. Quote, the U.S. Attorney Office takes any threats against law enforcement, the court's public officials very seriously, and the defendant's disturbing conduct in this potential violent case strikes at the very heart of our justice system. We're pleased that she has been held accountable in her role in this unusual kidnapping attempt. This isn't made up. And it's involving the FBI. February 16, 2017, the FBI New Orleans received information that Suzanne Holland, self-appointed Chief Justice of this Universal Supreme Court, which isn't recognized by the Chilcotin national government, by the way, was attempting to hire a bounty hunter to kidnap Sheriff Kurt Kapperman of Furnace County, Nebraska, and Judge Walker of Tipton County. Miss Holland contacted an FBI confidential source in New Orleans, Louisiana, and solicited the source to execute what was reportedly a duly arrest warrant for the sheriff and judge issued by the Chilcotin Nation. unbelievable stuff. And then they're talking about the payment to the bounty hunter to do this kidnapping. But this is unbelievable. This one person was sentenced to 5 years, and I know the other Parsons. I believe he was convicted on various offenses as well. But this is dangerous because I just I'm not going to get too much into it, but I think it's example of common law, sovereign justice going way too far. Um, the Chilcotin national government, I talked to them on the phone, do not recognize this universal Supreme Court. As far as I know, it has no physical location. Uh, it has really no jurisdiction as far as we know, and we'll see what the BC court says. Uh, it's not recognized by any other government, so people are self-appointed, and then they're issuing warrants leading to kidnapping. Um, and this is where this stuff can get out of hand. Uh, I don't know what's going to happen. I feel it's going to end bad for the people involved. But I want to bring up another document here as well. I'm just looking at these comments here. Of course, they're exploiting natives. Yeah. I'm going to go through the comments, but there's another document right here. This is a PDF. This is unbelievable. This was issued in January 30, 2008, the hearing date, the Universal Supreme Court and the Chilcotin Nation. But it's not even recognized by the national government. They're just issuing all these warrants, acting as if they represent the people of Chilcotin. I don't understand it. What is this constitution? There's no constitution. I can't find any constitution. They're claiming they have diplomatic status. It's unbelievable, this stuff. So, and they were asking to dismiss the charges to Michael Wayne Parsons. He was appointed ambassador for this group. That's not recognized by the national government of Chilcotin. And they said Ambassador ACG diplomat Michael Wayne Parsons is to be released from custody on his own reconnaissance forthwith and time release, and all of his Chilcotin belongings and his special are to be returned to him. If any of the lower courts, such as the U.S. District Court of the District of Nebraska, fails to uphold this order, the U.S. District Court of the District of Nebraska and any other lower court will be indicted for war crimes. Come on. As well as fine $1 million per day. Like, this is unbelievable. How are you going to enforce that? What jurisdiction do you have? This is getting really crazy now. And that's one example of it. And then I want to share some more documents here. And this is Suzanne, who we had on. She was actually found. She was a former daycare operator convicted of a kidnapping. Again, it's tied into this Universal Supreme Court. She was convicted by a jury. It was a lengthy trial, cross-exam. Take the media with a grain of salt here. I couldn't get the actual documents. She ran a daycare in the Williams Lake area. She also claimed to be a minister of the children and family with the Chilcotin National Congress, which isn't recognized by the national government. I don't even think it has a physical form to it. These are just people, in my opinion, from my research, that are just appointing themselves. via sovereign citizen, via common law. So this is how bad it can get. Uh, it's quite disturbing. Uh, NCA disavows common these common law people who are claiming Canada doesn't have a constitution. We completely disavow that. We disavow people creating their own laws. Um, it's not even anarchy. I want to make that very clear. This is a form of dictatorship, in our opinion. These are people self-appointing themselves, making up their laws, and then trying to enforce them. We can't run our society like that. NCA has is trying to work within the system. We're not working outside of the system. We can't have people creating their own laws. It doesn't make sense. It's going to get you in a lot of trouble when you violate the laws of the land, whether through various governments. If you don't like the laws, and we don't like a lot of legislation coming out of Ottawa, I want to be very clear about that. We want to overturn a lot of it, and we want to bring in new legislation, but we have to get the power to do that. And they're resisting us at every way. We know that through their censorship and that. But we're not just going to create our own legislation and try and enforce it. We're going to take their power to allow us to enforce it. But be very careful. Do not get caught up in this. And I think one of the fundamental claims is they claim Canada doesn't have a constitution, and that is just a completely false argument. Canada has the Constitution Act of 1867, and we have the Canadian Charter of 1982. We have issues with the Charter for what's not in there, and the fact that it can be overturned so easily are apparent rights. And also the additional fact that the Canadian people did not directly vote on this Constitution. We believe there should have been a national plebiscite to allow the Canadian people to have a direct say, and that didn't happen. But that doesn't mean we don't have a Constitution Act. And one thing they've referred to, these fringe groups, I call them fringe groups, they've referred to the Statute of New Westminster, and I'm going to bring it up here to help inform people on this. We did an article on a while back. They're claiming Canada is not a sovereign country. They've referred to the Statute of the Westminster, and this Westminster, it gave independence to these British Commonwealth nations, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa. But within the Westminster, the statute, it does not give sovereignty to the provinces. They have to work with the Parliament of Canada. So that's a falsehood that's projected, and we do it in this article on our blog. We explain it. It is a quote. It is argued that this document gave sovereign powers to the provinces, while it recognized the rights of provincial legislatures to pass legislation. It certainly doesn't grant them sovereignty as independent nations and having separation from the Parliament of Canada. And there's more details here. And you can look at that article to get more details. But the good news is that the Chilcotin Nation, they did get that land title. They are still negotiating with it. We don't understand this other group. We'll have to see what the BC court, maybe they'll think this Universal Supreme Court is valid. My My experience and my opinion says they will not. And I believe, and I hope this doesn't happen, but I believe Suzanne will be extradited to the U.S. to face charges for the attempted kidnapping of a judge and a sheriff, which means jail time. I hope that doesn't happen. I think this group means well, but I can't explain their motivation. But I want to be very clear. NCA disavows any of this common law nonsense where people are creating their own laws, giving self titles and trying to enforce those laws. That is anarchy is about not recognizing any form of government. This is an anarchy. This is, I would argue, a form of dictatorship. So it's important in terms of the Chilcotin Nation that they work together and they have a beautiful opportunity now. But to have splinter groups coming out like this, I don't believe it's helping. And people are going to get in trouble. So be very careful. Don't get misled. If you have any questions about this, contact us and we can help provide our opinion so you don't get caught up in it. I'm just going to go through some of the comments now to address some of them. I'm looking at this comment here from Adrian. Our Libcon career government politicians need to be tried for treason, genocide against our First Nation people. They have hidden and downplayed the atrocities committed by their own very governments in conjunction with the Roman Catholic Church and the Anglican Church. I think the churches are a fall guy, Adrian. We discussed that in the last one. The reality is that the Liberal Party of Canada and the so-called Conservative Party of Canada were orchestrating the cultural genocide against the First Nations, without question. And we believe as long as they're in power, we will never have justice. So they need to be held justice. And I was on this conservative so-called independent show, and I mentioned that I view them as genocidal parties because that's their history. And the guy was floored. He had some of these people are so programmed they couldn't get it. And here's Adrian on this. I hope that those caught up in the common law courts, sovereign citizens movement will see the dangers in their actions. There are very likely many well-meaning people involved in those movements that are being led astray by those that are running those. And that's true. If you're going to create your own law that violates the existing law, you're going to run into a lot of trouble, without question. So be very careful. There's different means to an end. And please don't get caught up on that. And there's nothing wrong with writing a constitution. Writing a constitution for Canada. There's nothing wrong with that. Proposing one. But it has to come from the people. We do have two constitutions. They have severe limitations, and that's in our policies. And we want to amend the charter. Yeah, we have to vote them out, as Adrian says. We need to elect grassroots government into power that is completely free of the crony career politicians. It is just a political stage. The bottom line, the central bank is running Canada, and the central banking cartel is running the central bank. As Rothschild said, whoever controls the money supply doesn't have to worry about the actual laws of a country. And that's what's going on in Canada. And then you got globalist corporations. You got wealthy globalists, wealthy families in Canada that are running the country. These multi-controlled political fronts are just puppet fronts. That's reality. The media is fake media, and they're just ensuring the status quo. The Canada Act 92 is just that, an act, a contract created by Pierre Trudeau that we citizens had no say in because we were not party to it. 100%, Jeff. But remember, it wasn't just Trudeau. The so-called conservatives were supporting it in the parliament. They needed certain support from the parliament. And there was a certain number of provinces that supported it, at least the premiers that supported it. Quebec didn't. Quebec is not in the charter. What they should have done is allowed Canadians to have a say in what's in the charter, to have a national dialogue, and create a process so the people can put their ideas into the charter, and then to have a vote. But we never had that. It was top down governance. And that's what we have today. And that's what we've had all along. Top down governance. No different in the way the First Nations were treated, without question. Yeah, Amanda's concerned about China, and she should be concerned. There's certain corporations in Canada that are completely embedded in China. The Power Corporation, the Desmarais family, one of the most powerful families without question. But remember, China is only one country. It's a staging ground for this AI technocracy, and they're exporting it through their digital Silk Road. There's also infiltration of Canada by the Chinese Communist Party. They've infiltrated the Liberal Party, the Conservative Party. Those parties take money from their operatives. We've already established that. They are stealing trade ideas. So, but China's only one player. They're not the only one that's up to that. So, uh, the Canadian people are going to have to take this country back. It's top down governance, complete manipulation, programming. What you see on the surface is very far from the truth, without question. It's a sick reality we live in. We should live in reality, but we don't. At least anyone who's linked into the mainstream, then they're going to be led astray. Yes, absolutely right. Top down governance, without question, Jeff. It's top down, manipulative governance, multi control. We know it. That's what we're fighting. And we want bottom up, Jeff. We want bottom. We want to empower. NCA believes in empowering the people. The more independent, self-sufficient the people are, the stronger our country will be. That's what we support. The reverse of what we have. But this is all about control. And one of the main vehicles of control is division. The basic division is left, right, liberal, conservative. Don't get caught up in any of these dichotomies. Otherwise, you're going to get played. It's essential to rise above the divisions. And that's why NCA focuses on all Canadians. They're afraid of us. That's why we're getting censored. That's why certain groups are attacking us. And it's the way it is. It's I guess it's the way it should be. But I want to, in closing, we don't believe right now that this Universal Supreme Court, this Chilcotin National Congress, we think they are just ideas. There's no physical location of a court where they're administering There's no Congress that's coming together, as far as we know. We think these people have we actually hope they have good intentions, but we need to work together. And I don't know, but again, I'm just in closing. Be very careful with the common law, sovereign stuff, and this false notion that Canada does not have a constitution. It's leading you down the wrong path, 100%. Upcoming, we're going to be looking at surveillance. We need to take a closer look at that and understand the history of it and what's going on with that. And then we're going to dive more into what's called the bio digital convergence. We did that in our 5G update. I'm going to focus specifically on that because that's very disturbing, and it's on the cutting edge of what's coming. You don't hear it in the mainstream, but it's coming. We have a Government of Canada document. We're going to go through it. And in short, basically, it's about putting AI into your brain with a Wi-Fi connector. That AI will act as a consciousness for you. It will talk to you and control you and manipulate you. This isn't made up at all, and this is tied to nanotechnology, which you can't see this technology, but there's a lot of concerns out there of what's going on. Remember, what's on the surface is far, far from the truth. And I will close with this statement: ignorance is only bliss for as long as until reality sets in, right? So you can live in your ignorance and programmed thinking, but when reality hits, you won't know what hits you. It's better to be informed, to understand, try and understand what's going on, and then you can make the best decisions for you and your family on how you want to go forward. And that's what we're trying to do. That's our number one goal at NCA right now, is to raise awareness about critical issues that are affecting the Canadian people, and also people beyond, because this is a global phenomenon that is going on. And I'm going to close it off there. I want to wish everyone the best. I think we'll do something on Thursday, and I'll be doing something on Saturday. There's a surveillance thing I'm going to do on the ground. Look at that. I've set that up with someone else. So we got to continue this work of raising awareness. I want to thank everyone for participating today. And I stress, we wish those people the best, but we think they're headed for some serious trouble, unfortunately. And it's pretty sad. I hope it doesn't happen. But it is what it is. Let it be a lesson that you cannot go outside the system and think you're going to beat the system. You cannot go outside the system and think you're going to be. The system will eat you up. It has all the money, the power. You won't survive. And he's talking about, yes, people need to go Canada.ca, straight to the government website. It's all in there. Excellent stuff, Chev. Yeah, it's all in there. That's one of the only good thing about Puppet Trudeau is that in some ways he's transparent. He mouths off about the Great Reset, right? And then he has to backtrack. The government is forthcoming about the bio-digital convergence, right? Whereas I believe these so-called conservatives are a lot more sneaky, but they have the same agenda. It's absolutely frightening. That's not an understatement. It's under horizon. They are the policy makers, the bureaucrats in the shadows, the Privy Council. And I'm going to talk about this on Thursday, Chev, so please join in. We're going to talk about this on Thursday because this is so serious, so egregious. it is the existential threat against Canadians, humanity worldwide. What's coming? This fourth industrial revolution, this great reset, this AI technocracy that they're pushing. But it's important everyone operates within the facts. We can't get caught up in hearsay. We can't get caught up in speculation. We have to operate within the facts. So we're doing our due diligence to make sure that we're sharing the facts with you. But as Chev says here, this is absolutely frightening. So it warrants, Chev, that I talk about this again, and we make this more we create more awareness about this issue. So I want to wish everyone the best. Thank you for joining in, and we will address any questions, comments, by all means.